Now let's start with a new panel. How can we think or rethink about the future? We start with a video clip to introduce the next speaker. We have with us Francesco Morace. Good afternoon, Francesco. Good afternoon to all of you. How are you? Fine, thank you. Of course, there is a lot of work for us. We are living a sort of a sociological lab, and we try to provide inputs of what to do and what is going to happen. So we are here. I listen to the other speakers. There is a lot to talk about, a lot to say, but also a lot to do. There are so many people, so many organizations, not-for-profit made organizations, citizens or startups that are working. And I have seen you on TV, and you deal with so many topics from a sociological point of view, but also looking at the future. And I would like to ask you a question, and a question for you. So, in your opinion, do you think that we made a mistake in the past? If you look at the situation right now, something went wrong some way. Well, it is a very smart, very good question. And actually, a few weeks ago, I actually posted something that became viral, because in my opinion we made a lot of mistakes, and this situation today is telling us what is the right direction to follow, because we are being attacked in the way we breathe. So we know that our respiratory tract is affected, but at the same time, pollution is decreasing. And also this pandemic is teaching parents to spend time with their kids, and parents are rediscovering the pleasure of staying with their kids. And also another important lesson is about the huge potential of digital technologies that allow for both virtual and real meeting. We were not used to use digital technologies in Italy when it comes to school or smart working. Of course, I don't want to think of a digital future, but nonetheless, we can do quite a lot. So we can find a way in between. So there are a lot of things that we didn't do in the past. We are forced today to do that. The important thing is that we won't forget it when the pandemic will be over. For example, also in terms of eating, of a diet, we used to eat carbs and protein, but now we are eating lots of meat, lots of proteins. So basically, we also have to find the right diet when it comes to digital technologies as well. But I also have to say that we are kind of worried, in particular, if you look at digitization on one side and education. We are in Italy, and we want schools to use digital technologies. A lot of schools didn't want to, but now this trend is so fast. But I'm kind of worried, because people start to think that education can be done through digital technologies. But I think that education is something different, something that goes beyond digital technologies. Well, this is a real worry, and we are actually listening to people and to the stories of people during the lockdown, and people are staying at home. They have been staying home for 4 weeks now, and after so many weeks and lots of digital technologies, while people are asking for human contact, um, you know that at supermarkets, lots of people are buying flour and yeast. So people is making bread, cakes. So on one side there is lots of digital technologies, but at the same time we have to find the right balance. Well, in the past, well, we did it wrong because technologies was not used enough. But in the future, we can't look or use technologies only. And we know, for example, that at workplace, creativity or great ideas, they come up when people meet, when they have a coffee. And so this is not possible through the digital world. So we have to find the right balance between the two.
Un'altra domanda era un po' sui rapporti, sulle relazioni
And what
intergenerazionali, no?
about
Perché negli ultimi anni è cambiato tanto il modo
relationships
di rapportarsi
between
tra le
different
generazioni, no? Però ce
generations?
ne avevi
Because
detto che ora si sta riscoprendo qualcosa. Tu credi che
we are now going
al
back
termine
to
o comunque quando si
natural things. But
ripartirà
what do you think when the
che non credo sia
when
totalmente
our
il termine
lives will
corretto,
go
comunque
back to
quando le relazioni andranno a
normality,
prendere
so
questa nuova
the
forma,
relations will
cambieranno i
be back? Do
rapporti
you think
intergenerazionali?
that the relationships between generations will be different or not? Well, they are already changing because if you look at teenagers, for example, teenagers had to stay at home and they had been spending so much time using computers or smartphones. Well, we now know, we have seen that the relationships between parents and kids, well, a lot of teenagers, a lot of young people taught their grandparents to use Skype or platforms to, for example, to learn cooking recipes. So there is such a relationship between generations, and in this case, teenagers are teaching to the older generation. So when the pandemic will be over, this shouldn't be forgotten. Teenagers must have responsibilities, they must play an active role, and at the same time, we as parents, we must convey the right messages. And also, researchers or experts now are being listened to. They are really at the center of our lives. And, in the past, it was like everybody could have his or her own ideas. But now we are there to listen to experts and scientists. And so I think this is really the new starting point for a new social model. The model we had didn't work properly. So we can't now, forget all this. We should start from knowledge, from research, from the scientific community. And maybe communication was also managed in the wrong way. And so that was responsible for the biased information. So not just looking at profit, but I think that propaganda as well was to blame for. A very last comment I would like to make is that we should be truth centered. So, trust in truth, which means that we have to be confident in truth, and we must rely on evidence, on data, on figures. Unfortunately, such pandemic taught us that every day at 6 p.m. we get information from the civil protection and we get data and figures. So we must look at the common good, which means the mutuality, responsibility will be very important, will play a major role. And we should not forget this time, because this will be, I hope, the incubator for a better word, a word in which we can, of course, hug and shake hands once again, but at the same time, common rules and mutuality to be defended. Thank you so much. Thank you to Francesco. I will be talking to you soon and talk about future trends in a very near future. Thank you so much.